Daniel always believed he was doing the right thing. He woke up early, dressed in silence, and left the house before sunrise most days. His job in a tech consulting firm demanded everything he had, and he gave it willingly because he thought sacrifice was love. Somewhere along the way, love stopped feeling warm and started feeling heavy. His wife, Sarah, noticed the change long before he did. She felt it in the quiet breakfasts, in the way conversations became functional instead of meaningful, in the way Daniel listened with his eyes still locked on his phone. They lived in a modest home in New Jersey, close enough to the city to feel its pressure, but far enough to dream of calm. They had 2 children, Ava, who was 11, and Ethan, who had just turned 8. From the outside, they looked like a normal American family. Inside, the distance between them grew inch by inch, day by day, unnoticed but undeniable. Sarah worked remotely as a content editor, juggling deadlines while managing school pickups, homework, and emotional meltdowns. She carried the invisible weight of the family while Daniel carried the visible one. Neither realized how lonely the other felt. Social media filled the silence in strange ways. Sarah scrolled through images of smiling couples and happy families, wondering what she was doing wrong. Daniel scrolled through success stories, convincing himself that one more promotion would fix everything. Ava started pulling away quietly. She stopped sharing stories from school and retreated into her room with her headphones on. Ethan became louder, more restless, acting out in ways that confused his parents. Teachers sent emails. Sarah read them carefully, connecting dots Daniel was too busy to see. Evenings became predictable. Dinner conversations were short, screens stayed on. Everyone existed in the same space without truly being together. Sarah tried to initiate change gently. She suggested family walks, device-free dinners, weekend plans. Daniel agreed but rarely followed through. Work emergencies always found a way in. One night during a particularly tense dinner, Ethan knocked over his glass. The sound echoed through the room. Daniel snapped without thinking. Ethan froze, his eyes filling with tears. Ava stared at her plate. Sarah felt something inside her break quietly. She cleaned the mess while holding back words she had rehearsed 100 times. Later that night, Sarah sat alone in the living room, scrolling through her phone, surrounded by silence. She wondered when her marriage had turned into coordination instead of connection. She wondered what her children were learning from watching 2 people drift apart without ever addressing it. Daniel came home late again the next week. Sarah did not argue. She did not ask questions. Her calm scared him more than anger ever could. Something felt wrong, but he did not know how to name it. He told himself things would slow down soon. He told himself he was doing this for them. The breaking point came unexpectedly. Ava was assigned a class project about family values. She asked simple questions that felt suddenly complex. She asked when the last time they did something together was. She asked why everyone always seemed tired. Sarah answered carefully, but the questions lingered. That evening, Ava refused dinner and locked herself in her room. Ethan followed, confused and upset. Daniel stood in the hallway listening to Sarah knock softly on the door, her voice cracking as she tried to comfort their daughter. For the first time, Daniel felt like a stranger in his own home. Later, Sarah sat across from him at the kitchen table. She spoke calmly, but her words carried years of weight. She said she felt alone. She said the kids felt it too. She said love could not survive on intentions alone. Daniel listened, uncomfortable, defensive, but unable to deny the truth. The days that followed were awkward. Daniel tried harder, but effort without understanding felt forced. He brought home dinner, offered to help with homework, suggested a movie night. The kids participated cautiously. Sarah appreciated the effort but waited to see if it would last. Social media continued its quiet damage. Sarah compared her reality to curated perfection. Daniel compared his slowed career to his peers. Both felt like they were failing in different ways. Neither knew how to talk about it without feeling weak. One afternoon, Ethan got into trouble at school for pushing another child. When Sarah asked why, he said he felt angry all the time and did not know why. The words hit her harder than anything else had. That night, she told Daniel something needed to change now, not later. Around the same time, Daniel was offered a major opportunity, a leadership role, with more money and recognition but significantly less time. The offer arrived like a test he had not studied for. He did not tell Sarah immediately. He carried the decision alone, pacing between ambition and responsibility. The house felt tense, like everyone was waiting for something to happen. Ava became more distant. Ethan grew more sensitive. Sarah watched Daniel closely, sensing something he was not saying. Nights were restless. Conversations hovered on the edge of honesty without crossing into it. One evening, the power went out during a storm. The house fell into darkness and silence with no screens to distract them. The family gathered in the living room. They lit candles. They talked, slowly at first, then more freely. Ava laughed for the first time in weeks. Ethan told stories. Sarah watched Daniel listen, truly listen, and felt both hope and fear. As the storm passed, Daniel realized something important was at stake. The question was no longer about success or failure. It was about what kind of story his children would grow up remembering. The decision he was avoiding would shape everything that came next. Daniel sat at the kitchen table long after everyone went to bed, the storm outside replaced by an uneasy quiet. The job offer email glowed on his laptop screen, its promises tempting and familiar. He thought about his father, who had worked endlessly and been respected but rarely present. Daniel had sworn he would be different. Somewhere along the way, he had become exactly what he once questioned. The next morning, Daniel did something small but unusual. He stayed home later. He walked Ava to the bus stop. She looked surprised, then smiled cautiously. Van asked if his dad would pick him up from school. Daniel said yes without checking his calendar first. The word felt risky but right. At work, Daniel struggled to focus. Meetings blurred together. Numbers felt meaningless. He realized how much of his identity was tied to being needed professionally. Letting go of that grip felt like stepping into open air without knowing where he would land. That evening, Daniel told Sarah about the offer. He did not frame it as a victory. He framed it as a dilemma. Sarah listened quietly, the way she had learned to do after years of being unheard. When he finished, she spoke honestly. She said she believed in him, but she also believed their family was asking for something different. She said she did not want perfection. She wanted presence. They did not decide immediately. They agreed to take a few days. In those days, Daniel paid closer attention. He noticed how Ava's shoulders relaxed when he helped with homework. He noticed how Ethan clung to him during bedtime stories. He noticed how Sarah laughed more easily when she was not carrying everything alone. Still, doubt crept in. Social media reminded him what success was supposed to look like. Colleagues congratulated him in advance. He imagined regret. He imagined failure. He imagined his children remembering him as someone who was always busy. On the third day, Ethan asked a simple question while they were playing in the yard. He asked if work was more important than family. Daniel froze. He realized no explanation could outweigh what his actions were already teaching. That night, he declined the promotion. The relief surprised him, so did the fear, but the decision opened space for change. Not dramatic change, but consistent effort. Daniel reorganized his schedule. Sarah adjusted hers too. They stopped waiting for perfect moments and started creating ordinary ones. Family dinners became routine again. Phones stayed in another room. Conversations were awkward at first, then warmer. Ava began sharing stories again. Ethan stopped lashing out. Teachers noticed the difference before Daniel fully did. Sarah made changes too. She limited social media. She stopped comparing her marriage to highlight reels. She started voicing her needs instead of swallowing them. Daniel listened, not defensively, but intentionally. They argued less, not because problems disappeared, but because respect returned. Months passed. The family faced financial adjustments, vacations became simpler, luxuries were fewer, but something deeper grew: trust, stability, safety. The children felt it. They laughed more, they slept better, they argued less. Then life tested them again. Daniel's company announced restructuring, layoffs were coming, panic returned quickly. This time, Daniel did not hide it. He talked openly with Sarah. They planned together. They talked to the kids in gentle ways. Ava asked if everything would be okay. Daniel told her the truth. He said things might be hard, but they would face them together. Daniel was laid off 2 weeks later. The house felt tense again, but not broken. Sarah reminded him that his worth did not disappear with his job. Ava wrote him encouraging notes. Ethan asked if they could still play baseball in the evenings. Daniel said yes. Job searching was humbling. Rejections came. Doubt resurfaced. But Daniel found something he had: Saint time. He volunteered at school. He cooked dinners. He listened. The family adjusted around a new rhythm. Eventually, Daniel found a new position. Less prestigious, more flexible. Enough. He accepted without hesitation. The fear did not vanish, but confidence returned in a different form. He no longer chased validation, he chose alignment. One evening, years later, Ava prepared to leave for college. She hugged her parents tightly. She thanked them for showing her what working through things looked like. Ethan, now a teenager, rolled his eyes but stayed close. Sarah and Daniel sat on the porch after the kids went inside. They talked about the past, the mistakes, the turning points, the quiet moments that changed everything. They did not pretend they had done everything right. They acknowledged they had chosen each other again and again. Their story did not end. It continued in small choices, in presence over pressure, in connection over comparison, in showing up even when it was uncomfortable. They learned that relationships are not maintained by grand gestures, but by daily attention. Children do not need perfect parents, they need honest ones. Love does not disappear during hard seasons, it waits to be prioritized. The house felt lived in, safe, real, a place where every age felt seen. Their story became one many others could recognize. Not because it was extraordinary, but because it was true.